Hi y'all, welcome to my shop, or should I say my studio. This is Mike Peace. I'm passionate about wood turning. I like to share with you tips, tricks, techniques, and projects to help you with your wood turning. If this is something you're interested in, click the subscribe button and ring the bell. Today though, rather than talk about wood turning, I thought I'd take you on a little bit behind the scenes of my studio, if you will, on how I actually do videos. And I want to thank David Walser for suggesting this topic. I guess first we might want to talk a little bit about my stand-in dummy. I don't use this much anymore, but I get it when I was using my Canon power shot, and occasionally with the newer camcorder I bought to help make sure I wasn't cutting my head off in the videos. But I've got a better solution for that, and let me talk about that briefly. I talked about this in a video I did a couple of years ago. I included this, but I use this backup retrofit monitor for a backup camera in an automobile, and I use this as a remote viewfinder. So this is plugged. I plug this into my camera, and then I have it plugged into this overhead boom. So in that video I did a couple of years ago, and I'll have that link at the end of this video, I showed how I created this boom that I can move for different camera views, and it goes up and down, and it's got a little bit of a counterweight. I added a power box here so I could put the power supply for my remote viewfinder, and also to plug into the camera so I don't have to work off battery power all the time. Let's talk briefly about lighting. I like to use LED lights. They're a very daylight or a cold temperature around 5,000 Kelvin. I use one for overhead. I also have one up here that I use to help light the area. And overhead I have fluorescent lights, and I try to use fluorescent lights that are also a cool temperature. But sometimes fluorescent lights and incandescent or LED don't work real well together, so you have to set what they call white balance in your camera to keep from fooling the camera and screwing up the colors. But I like LEDs. Here's a couple of lights I use when I need additional lighting. They're both on tripods. They're cowboy studio lighting. They're fairly inexpensive, which is why I like them. They come with these compact fluorescent bulbs, but sometimes this one I found it easier to put in a reflector. They have these umbrella stands that will give it really soft light, but it doesn't give as much light as I like, so that's why I just clip this on there and use that stand. It's very portable. This one I took it off the regular stand and put it on an old chair to make it a little more movable, to make it easy. I use especially when I use I use these a lot when I use the green screen. Here's where I set up my green screen. I have this additional rod that I can slide it on, and I put it away when I'm not using it because I don't want to get sawdust all over it.
In case you're not familiar with the green screen, it's that technique they use on news broadcasts. It allows you to use the editing program to manipulate the background and actually lay that image over top of a completely different background.
I keep my remote viewfinder in this old drill bag to kind of protect it from getting banged around my shop, and I can just throw it in there and kind of throw it in the corner with everything plugged in. Let's talk briefly about a camera. A lot of folks use the expensive digital single-lens reflex cameras, and they're great. I just feel like they've got more features than I'm interested in, and they were far more expensive. So I use an inexpensive Canon camcorder, and this one's I've been real happy with. You'll notice I've got an additional newer power supply. This is the one that came with it. This is a larger one that I bought so I'd have a backup charge, and I wind up using this all the time because it keeps a much larger charge. And I put a little note here to remind me that it takes 5.5 hours to charge, and don't let it run longer than that where it'll fry the battery. This is a real common, this Canon Vixia. Mine is an HF R500, which is an older model. I put a newer model in my Amazon Studio just in case anyone wants to get into videos and don't have a camcorder. I think that's a real good option. It's one that a lot of clubs use for their video of their demonstrators, and I've been very happy with it, especially the on-camera sound. Sound is very important on video, And it turns out that if you're in a very closed environment and you're very close to the camera, you really don't need additional remote microphones or plugs or Bluetooth. The one off the camera I find just fine. It works for me in my shop. And one of the reasons is I have so much stuff on the walls. One of the reasons it works for me is my shop is so crowded and I have not a spare inch of wall space. And then I have this just things everywhere. And it tends to muffle or dampen the sound, keep it from vibrating around, including, you know, this bath curtain probably doesn't hurt. So I don't get the echo that you might get in a large shop that I just don't have that problem here. So my on-camera video works very well. I use this old tripod I've had for more than 50 years. When I shoot generally my opening scene, or when I'm shooting something upstairs, which doesn't happen that often, and it works fairly well. It's not as long as I would like to have, so when I need something longer, I just recently purchased this used tripod I'll show you. So when I need a taller tripod, which is nice sometimes for camera views, I use this tripod, which I found inexpensively at a thrift store at a very good price, and it'll ratchet up, and it's got more controls to go left, right, and up and down and sideways. So it's been very, very handy. One of the things that's very handy, let me show you. I bought several of these, and that's a quick release mechanism I mount on my cameras and tripods, and also my overhead, my camcorder crane, to make it just real easy to stick the cameras in when I'm moving it about or removing the SD card. Alright, I spend more time behind the computer than I do in my shop making videos, because editing is very labor intensive. So I want to talk a few things about the computer. My computer is about 5 years old. You don't have to have the best and fastest to do editing, but you do need a pretty powerful CPU. Memory is not a real big issue. Your color card, graphics card is not a big issue. The CPU is, so that's something you'd want to study if you're going to get into it. I use lots of these SD cards. I have several of them because I might have one in the computer like I have now. I have one that I've erased and set up here, and then I've got to have one downstairs, so when I get ready to shoot I always have one. So I have several of these that I can swap out. In terms of equipment, the other thing you need, videos just eat up a lot of space. So I start off with a Toshiba 1 terabyte external hard drive, plugs in my USB port. I ran out of space, and I recently bought a Seagate 4 terabyte. Some of this equipment I'm going to reference in my, you can spot it in my Amazon shop, and the link to that is going to be in the description for my video. I don't want this to sound like an infomercial, but I did want to show you the equipment that I'm using, so if you're interested, that's an easy way to read up on it. And buy it if you like. Obviously, anything you buy that you go through my Amazon shop link, I'll get a small commission, and that's one way you can support my channel. Editing software. I use Vegas Movie Studio. I'm on my 3rd version. I think this is the version 11, then version 12, and then I downloaded and upgraded to version 14, which is one of the items I also have in my Amazon shop, so you can read about it. I think every video program has its pluses and minuses, but this Vegas Studio can do most anything. They're all difficult to learn, and what was really the reason I'm using it is this is what the video editors at Gwinnett Woodworkers standardized on, so to speak, so they could help each other out and everybody use the same software. A lot of software doesn't come with real good instructions, and it's not how to use it is not intuitively obvious to the casual observer, as they say, and it is a steep learning curve. I'll tell you that. Editing is more, learning about producing a video and editing and all the aspects of it is more difficult, that I found, than learning about wood turning. I picked up a book that went along with Sony Movie Studio Platinum 12 older version, but this was really helpful to make it a lot easier to use the software, and I struggled with it for a couple of years until I ran across this book, and it has made it a lot easier. I already mentioned that the sound off the camera I feel like is pretty good. I can remember getting a comment from somebody at Gwinnett who'd not watched my videos, and he was a sound expert, did it before he retired, had a lot of experience with sound, and he was telling me all about wireless microphones and lavalier microphones and how I could really kick up the quality of my videos by buying this $250 microphone system, and he sent me the link. I said, have you ever watched any of my videos? He said, no. I said, watch my videos if you would, and then give me some feedback. And next time I saw him, he says, you know, I did watch your videos, and actually your sound quality is really pretty good. I would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, probably a 9. I thought, okay, I definitely don't need to go out and spend more money on a fancy wireless microphone system. When I do voiceovers, though, I did invest in a high quality microphone. I got this what they call a Blue Yeti, which is just a really nice one, and this is what they call a puff filter. I don't do much voiceovers because it is a bit of an effort, but I probably need to do it more often. Another thing you tend to need is a headphone set. I bought this one before I got the Blue Yeti. It has a microphone, and it was a better quality than the really cheap $3 microphone that plugged into the front of my computer. But this headset one works considerably better, but it doesn't have near the quality of this microphone as the Blue Yeti. Let me talk briefly about my process. I spend a lot of time researching videos. I look at other people's YouTubes. I look at the many books I have in my woodturning library. I think about the best way to do it, and then ultimately I come up with a script because it helps me focus in on what equipment I need and when, and the sequence of events, and what piece of equipment or what stage I might want to change my camera view, and that's very helpful to me. And I also use it to write notes on when I get ready to do the second step of the process, which is editing. I might make a note on it about when to add a still picture and that type of thing. And it also helps me with what I should say during a video at the beginning of the scene, or maybe at the end when I'm closing out the video and I'm having what they call a call for action, either reminding you to subscribe or link on it or watch another video. So scripts are helpful for that. It's basically a 4-step process in making a video. There's that pre-production planning and studying and making a script. That's number one, and that takes a while. Sometimes I spend more time on that than I do actually turning the project. The second one is actually making that project and videoing, and usually that's probably the smallest part of the whole process. Third, I get that editing stage, and that can be very time consuming. I don't use 2 cameras simultaneously because it increases the difficulty and complexity almost geometrically when you start adding more cameras to the mix. But I correct sound and color and add in still pictures, cut out unnecessary things, add text when Bubba said the wrong thing, and I don't want to do a voiceover to correct it. And all that editing and then shrinking it down. And then the third part of that stage is what they call rendering. You have to kick off a job where the computer takes all that information that you've edited and all these little bits and pieces and produces the actual video, and that takes a long time with an old computer. So that's a job I usually kick off at night. It may take, if it's a 20-minute video, it'll easily take an hour, and it'll bring the computer to its knees for doing any other tasks, even web browsing. So a lot of times I have to just do that as I'm leaving the house or when I'm going to bed, and then I wake up in the morning and that process is done. Then the fourth process is when I upload it to YouTube, and that's when I put in the description, the title, I add a thumbnail. Sometimes I use a third-party program online called TubeBuddy that's very helpful. That's why sometimes you'll see me doing these funny mugshot shots at the end with animated faces. It makes it easy to grab a picture out of the video to add that thumbnail to it. Then you get into the kind of the esoteric areas of adding it to a playlist, search engine optimization, searching for keyword tags, and things I'm not going to spend any more time on. If you get into producing YouTube videos, you'll have to do a lot of research in that area. I hope this was all helpful to you. If you are interested in those earlier videos, there'll be a link right here. I never can remember which way to point. Might be pointing in the wrong direction. Y'all stay safe. Come on back when you can here.
And please don't forget to follow the link to my Amazon shop in the description for this video to help support my channel.